More than 400 years ago, 115 people vanished without leaving a single trace behind. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle, no belongings left scattered, not even evidence of panic. This was not just unusual, it was nearly impossible by every known standard of history. And it is precisely that impossibility that turned the Roanoke Colony into one of the most haunting mysteries ever recorded. But the most unsettling part may not be how they disappeared, but the possibility that for over 4 centuries, we have been asking the wrong question. In the summer of 1590, John White returned to Roanoke after being stranded in England for 3 years due to war. When he left, he had placed his trust in a temporary absence, expecting to return quickly to more than 100 settlers, including his own family. But the war delayed him far longer than anyone anticipated, leaving the colony completely isolated, without supplies, without communication, and without any certainty of survival. When White finally stepped back onto the island, he prepared himself for the worst, expecting signs of attack, destruction, or collapse. What he found instead defied all logic. The fort was still standing, intact and undisturbed. There were no signs of forced entry, no burn marks, no broken defenses, no scattered possessions. There were no bodies, no freshly dug graves, no evidence of violence of any kind. There was only silence. Not the silence of death, but the silence of absence, as if the entire colony had left together, deliberately and in order. The only clue was a single word carved into the wood, Croton. For centuries, that word became the center of endless speculation. Some believed it was the name of an attacking force, others thought it was a desperate message, and some considered it an unsolved code. But every interpretation shared the same problem. None of them were supported by evidence. The major theories rose and collapsed one after another. The idea that the settlers were massacred by Native Americans could not explain the complete lack of physical evidence. The theory that Spanish forces secretly destroyed the colony had no historical record or archaeological support. The possibility of starvation leading to chaos and death did not align with the absence of bodies or disorder. Each explanation sounded plausible on its own, but when measured against reality, none of them held together. For centuries, Roanoke remained an unsolved mystery. Then a small detail began to change everything. Croton was not a code, it was a location. It referred to an island, now known as Hatteras, where a friendly native tribe once lived. This opened a new possibility that the colonists may have relocated there. But if that were true, why was there no clear evidence? And why did the story remain so incomplete? The answer began to emerge from an unexpected place, a map. A map drawn by John White himself in the 16th century was re-examined using modern imaging techniques. Beneath a small patch on the map, researchers discovered the faint outline of another fort, located approximately 50 miles inland from Roanoke. This single detail shifted the entire narrative, because if a second location had been planned in advance, then the disappearance was not sudden or chaotic, it may have been intentional. Archaeologists redirected their efforts to this inland area, and what they found confirmed part of that theory. Not large structures, but small, undeniable traces of human presence, pottery fragments, tools, and everyday objects of English origin. These findings proved that the settlers had indeed moved inland. Yet the pattern did not resemble a structured colony. Instead, it suggested smaller, scattered groups trying to survive under difficult conditions. One critical detail stood out: the absence of clay tobacco pipes. In later English settlements, these pipes were common and widespread. Their complete absence here indicated that these sites predated Jamestown, meaning they belonged to the Roanoke settlers themselves. They had not vanished, they had relocated. But the mystery was still not fully resolved. On Hatteras Island, where the name Croton pointed, another layer of evidence emerged. This time, it was not evidence of conflict, but of coexistence. English artifacts and Native American items were found together within the same living spaces, not as spoils of war, but as part of daily life. There were no clear boundaries, no signs of violence, no indication of separation. This was not conquest, it was integration. At this point, the larger picture began to take shape. The Roanoke colony did not disappear overnight, nor was it destroyed. It fractured. Some settlers moved inland, while others went toward the coast. And in the process, they ceased to exist as a unified English colony. They became smaller groups, adapting in whatever way they could to survive. The final question remained: if they survived, why did they vanish from history? The answer came from modern science. DNA studies have revealed connections between present-day families and genetic markers dating back to the 16th century. These findings show clear evidence of intermixing between English settlers and native populations, confirming that the colonists did not disappear, they were absorbed into a different society. And that is where the true answer to the mystery lies. It is not about what happened to them, but about what they became. Faced with starvation, disease, and total isolation, they made a decision. Not to fight, not to wait, but to change. They abandoned their identity as English settlers and integrated into the world around them in order to survive. That decision is what made them disappear from history, because history does not record those who let go of their identity. It records those who preserve it. And perhaps the greatest mistake we have made for over 400 years is searching for a lost English colony, when what remained was never a colony at all. It was something far more human. It was a transformation. And in the end, Roanoke is not a story about disappearance, but about a choice so difficult that it erased them from the narrative we expected to find, yet allowed them to continue existing in a form we never thought to look for.